Welcome to Fight Night Hearthstone Edition, featuring the top 8 players around the world. With $10,000 in prize money and regional pride on the line, who will go home the Hearthstone champion? This is Fight Night! Hey guys, it's time for another edition of Fight Night here at ESGN TV. It's time for round 3 of Hearthstone. We've had a lot of fun with seasons 1 and 2, so we're bringing back Team Doggy House and Liquid Value. Once again, it's going to be 4 versus 4, but we have some old faces and we have some new ones. Let's go ahead and meet our players. From Team Liquid Value, Kong Strifecrow Shu. The team captain, Kevin Monk Dong. The newcomer, Case Koyuki Kiyanaga. And you voted for the mayor of Value Town once again, Jeffrey Trump Shi. From Team Doggy House, Marcin Nimsh Filipowicz. Yana Savij Mikonin. The team captain, Dan Artosis Stemkoski. And the last doggy, but certainly not the least, Jan Ekop Bauis.
Once again, I am Kong Shu. My ID is Strifecrow, and I play for Liquid Value.
Okay, so I'm Marcin Nimsh Filipowicz, and I play for Team Doggy House.
Hi, my name is Kevin Dong. You might also know me as Monk, and I play for Liquid Value.
My name is Jan Palis, also known as Ekop, and I'm playing for Team Doggy House.
My name is Case Yukio Kiyonaga. I go by Koyuki. I'm from Bellevue, Washington, and I'm on Team Liquid Value.
My name is Dan Stemkoski, but I'm better known as Artosis, and I play for Team Doggy House.
I am Jeffrey Shi. I am known better as Trump, and I play for Team Liquid Value.
I'm Janne Mikkonen. I'm from Finland, and my ID is Savij. I play from Team Doggy House.
All right, so now that you met our players, it's time to determine who will be playing first with the Wheel of RNG. Since Team Doggy House won the masked match, let's go ahead and bring up Artosis to determine who is going to play. So Dan, first off, welcome back to Fight Night. How you feeling so far?
I'm really excited. You know, the new patch just hit, so I have no idea what we're going to see out of them, and I think our decks are pretty good.
All right, is there any person that you want to play first?
Well, if I get to play first, I want Strifecrow, man. I think he's the best. I wanna fight him.
All right, well, without further ado, let's find out who's going to be first. Who's it going to be? Will your wish come true?
Maybe.
Wow, the first person from Liquid Value will be Strifecrow. Thank you, Artosis. All right, now that Artosis has determined who he wants, let's find out who Monk wants. Come on up. All right, Kevin, I have to ask, is there any person you're trying to gun for to have Strifecrow have a good matchup?
Well, I think everyone wants to see Strifecrow versus Savij because everyone thinks they're the best players on both teams. So I'm going to make that dream come true, and I'm going to aim for him.
All right, go ahead and take it for a spin. Ooh, it's coming up on Savij. Or maybe, will it be a rematch from the aces of seasons 1 and 2? Strifecrow versus Nimsh once again.
Nimsh, like, he kind of did pretty good last Fight Night. Like, personally against me, I played him in the ace match both of the times, and I went 3-0, 3-0, so I just stomped the Nimsh last time.
Strifecrow is hands down the best player the other team has. I don't know how it is, but the guy is extremely good.
People say that he's like extremely lucky as far as like top decking and maybe like Tinkmaster. Like he says he always gets what he wants on Tinkmaster. Like if he Tinkmasters his own guy, he always gets the 5-5. If he Tinkmasters the other guy, you know, it's always a squirrel. So I think he's very good. Like I've talked to him a lot. He has like a really deep history in a lot of other card games. Like he's a bit older than the rest of us, so he's like has a lot of experience.
I think he possesses a very good learning curve. So when he plays the deck and he plays against something, he adjusts really fast. He analyzes the decks and the plays very well. He's super calm, impossible to break, it seems. So when I face Strifecrow, I know that I will have to win using just the mechanics of the game. There's no way to actually break him somewhere on the line.
So there you have it, Strifecrow versus Nimsh. I'm joined at the caster deck with Crip. Welcome, man.
Thank you.
So you're here as a caster this time, not a player. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I've been talking about it a little bit, and overall, it's much better to see the game, as probably we'll have quite a few people agree with that opinion. And yeah, seeing the game, talking about the game, not putting in an effort, as all the people have in these last few days.
Sounds like the life.
Yep, taking all the glory out of it.
Well, now we have StrifeCo versus Nimsh, a matchup that you've seen a couple times would go one way towards StrifeCo. Do you have any opinions on the match?
Well, it is pretty interesting to note that StrifeCo is up 6-0 against Nimsh, if you refer to the previous episodes of Fight Night. So, you know, we're hoping that Nimsh gets at least one in there before, you know, the inevitable.
One or two, maybe even the series. We'll see what happens.
Well, we'll see.
Let's not get too crazy. StrifeCo is 4-0 in Fight Night, and we'll see his streak maybe continue or maybe be snapped. Before we go on, we do have some changes since the last Fight Night. What's changed since the last time you were here, Crip?
Well, as far as Fight Night is concerned, we changed the format a little bit. So we're going to see a lot of decks. And the reason that is, you know, we're having a system where we're disallowing people to play the same class on the first series and the next. So in the last few episodes, people were just playing what they thought was best. But this time around, there's some strategy to holding back, you know, your better decks. So you're going to see a mix-up, you know, even though you may see a player play some pretty poor classes, some pretty poor decks this time around, you know, it could very easily change in the next series.
And that's not the only change that these players have to adjust to. There's been a recent patch just a couple of days ago, dropping the bomb, changing Unleash the Hounds, Blood In, Pyroblast. Any thoughts on the overall patch?
I mean, the timing of these tournaments is just impeccable.
Yeah.
You know, during the flight over, the patch hits and stuff's nerfed, stuff's buffed, and you know, anytime they make these changes, the top dog always changes and all the decks change with it. So, you know, these guys have had a pretty tough couple of days figuring out what they need to play and what it's going to take to pull it out in this tournament.
It's going to be pretty exciting to see what these guys and these two teams can come up with. So you've heard our thoughts. Let's take a second to explain the format as we get ready for our first match between Nimsh and StrifeCo. We'll take a quick commercial break, and then we'll get back with the first game.
So here are the rules for Fight Night Hearthstone Edition. 8 players form 2 teams and battle it out 4v4. The 2 team captains spin the Heartless ESGN wheel, which will determine the matchups. Now the battle begins. In order to win, the player has to beat all 3 of his rivals' decks. After the players have battled solo, it's time for the final ace match. All 4 players on each team unite in a grand showdown to find out who is the strongest. Ultimately, the stakes are high. Teams can win as much as 5,000 for crushing their opponents. If one team manages to go even further and clean sweep their opponents, the winners will receive a huge bonus of 5,000 on top.
Hearthstone is a 1v1 digital card game developed by Blizzard Entertainment, the company behind famous franchises such as StarCraft, Diablo, and the Warcraft series. Currently, in the Hearthstone beta, you have the choice between 9 hero classes akin to their Warcraft counterparts: Warrior, Shaman, Rogue, Paladin, Hunter, Druid, Warlock, Mage, and Priest. Each class has its own unique set of cards that you can choose to customize, as well as a unique hero power that you can use once per turn. Each player chooses 30 cards before the match. This format is often called Constructed and is considered the primary form of competition in any collectible card game. Hearthstone is turn-based. Both players take separate turns to play their cards. You can play as many cards as you want, but be careful not to run out and be completely hopeless. The first person to have their opponent hit 0 health is declared the winner. With over 450 cards currently in the beta alone, Hearthstone offers an array of opportunities to build neat strategies and deck themes oriented around various playstyles. Similar to other strategy games, there is no one deck to rule them all. It comes down to who prepares the best and who gets the draws.
Welcome back to the desk. So we know our first classes between StrifeCo and Nimsh. It's going to be Hunter versus Warlock, a very exciting matchup.
Quite a matchup indeed. It seems that with Nimsh on the Hunter playing against a very control-based Warlock, I think we have Nimsh as the favorite to win, despite their previous record here.
It's looking good for Team Doggy House to start off.
I think this is probably the most stacked matchup they could have started with. So I don't know what kind of strategy they had planned, but it seems to have worked out for them.
All right, and keep in mind that this time they'll have 1 minute on the clock, and we are keeping mics on the players, so maybe we can get some cool reactions, because I think Nish will be pretty happy to see a slow Warlock being played in this match.
I think StrifeCrow is the kind of guy that really just gets into the game. I don't know if we'll hear much from him, but what I do want to mention is these decks are going to play really differently. You got the Hunter that, you just pick up a card and you put it on the floor and you're running into your opponent.
To the face.
And you got Strife, who's a very analytical, control type player. So I think we'll see some pretty severe turn time inequality in these matches.
All right, well, 5 seconds is left on the clock. It's the first game for Fight Night Season 3 between StrifeCrow and Nimsh. Let's get into the game and find out what happens. So what kind of cards is both players going to look for here?
Well, being the underdog, StrifeCrow is going to really look out for his Molten Giants. The Molten Giants, they cost a lot less, depending on how much life you have left. And the Hunter, you have so many charges, you have the hero ability, you're going to have so much uncontrollable damage that StrifeCrow is really going to seek these cards to get an explosive, kind of burst. He's on a clock the entire game. Every point of life is going to be very significant. And, with Nimsh, I feel like most of the cards are going to play themselves.
Yeah, you could just have something to fit the curve, and it'll be easy to kind of play these cards. Now, he does have 2 Ironbeak Owls, but...
Yeah, these are so important because if he probably knows that he's playing against Control Warlock because the aggro Warlock has fallen a little bit out of style.
Yes.
And as such, he knows that it really relies on getting those big taunts up, and he would be making the right call and keeping at the very least one of those owls, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you can bypass defenses much easier. Now, on the flip side, StrifeCrow, he was debating whether or not he should be keeping things like the Twilight Drake along with the Defender of Argus.
Yeah,
Argus is very important, but yeah, Twilight Drake is really good.
Yep, even if you have the silence, you still have to kill it. You still have to run a monster into it if you want to get rid of it.
All right, so he does end up swapping out anyways and gets a Faceless Manipulator. And cards that cost 5+ mana are very scary to have against a Hunter deck in general.
Ancient Watcher is one of the best taunts because, it's not one that you can realistically silence unless you push for the kill, because if you do silence it, you remove the portion of the text where he can't attack. And as such, he becomes a 4/5 threat for 2 mana, which is quite significant.
Ooh, now Unleash the Hound's Draw, so that's going to give some good options in the mid-game for Nimsh, but it draws the Bluegill and just starts to charge.
Yep, no real 2-drop except the hero ability, but hey, every single point of life is going to matter in this game.
You want to do as much damage. I believe one guy who was first trying to popularize Hunter aggro said you just want to try to do the same amount of damage per turn. So as you get 1 damage turn 1, 2 damage turn 2, and then by turn 6 or 7, you should be able to get them within lethal range.
Well, we'll see. StrifeCrow is definitely thinking of tapping here because the Ancient Watcher is not going to get activated until the turn after. And, he may just look for more options. The problem with playing cards that are not useful right away is when it comes to playing Drakes, playing Mountain Giants, you reduce how strong or how early you can play them. So, that's why he thought about playing the 4/5 drop as opposed to not.
Now, this is certainly interesting. Tinkmaster Overspark, but that's not really applicable in this scenario because you could load your opponent with something even better.
There's no way you're playing that card, so you gotta tap. And here, do you Soulfire 2/1? Maybe, I don't know.
But then he risks losing a really important card, Defender of Argus or his Molten Giant.
It's really just the Molten Giant, yeah. We know that if he plays the Molten Giant and gives it taunt, the owl is going to silence it.
That's a good point. Yeah,
right. So, but the thing is, the Molten Giant, it's an 8/8. It's going to end the game pretty quick. So, if it's a taunt or not, it doesn't really matter that much if you can get it out pretty early.
Now, there's a couple of options here for Nimsh. You can go for the Eagle Horn, or you can go for the Animal Companion. Which do you recommend in this scenario?
Well, Animal Companion is usually a pretty safe bet if you have another creature. The worst case is you get Leok, you do another 1 damage this turn. It's not terrible, especially because he has charged creatures to follow it up in the following turns. But I don't know. I don't think you can Arcane Golem. You can't give your opponent another mana lead right away.
No, especially against a Warlock control.
Right. You're on 3 right now because you went second. If you give them a Mana Crystal, they're going to be on 5 next turn, which is, it's not going to end well.
He's even actually... Oh, he's thinking of the Wolf Rider as well.
He wants to get him as low as possible. He's probably hoping that Strife hasn't drawn into his Molten Giants because he's only tapped for 1 extra card. So the chances are quite likely that he hasn't. We know that he has, but you know, I think it's a pretty fair move nonetheless.
Now he does have a couple of options. StrifeCro can try to set up a better play, but he also has the Mortal Coil to draw, but that will reduce the ability to drop the defender and reduce some of the damage.
Right, I mean, you get the draw off the Mortal Coil, but you're playing nothing that turn, which is kind of an issue. On the other hand, if you're playing the defender, you may want to wait until next turn. Most likely next turn you'll be at a loss of, you know, at least some more life points, and you can play the Molten Giant perhaps with the defender as well. Looks like he goes for the Mortal Coil, yeah.
Gets him Shadow Bolt instead, but just like you're saying, he can save Molten Defender for ultimate value.
Yep.
Now, again, does he use the Shadow Bolt or anything here in this scenario?
Shadow Bolt is not really wrong, I don't think. He's considering Shadow Bolt or tapping right now, I believe. And I think he can afford to take another 4, 2 from the tap, 2 from the creature. But, you know, Strife is the kind of guy who's going to play out a lot of these decks, so he kind of knows the kind of game he's going to want to play. So most of his decisions, even though they may seem kind of weird in that particular turn, he usually has some kind of game plan going on.
Turn number 4 here for Nim. She draws the Starving Buzzard. And Starving Buzzard Unleash the Hounds combo can be pretty nasty, along with some other ways you can utilize your beast creatures. There's no true clear-cut play here for Nimsh, though.
Well, again, you can play the Animal Companion. It's not really bad. You're really happy if you get the boar. You can play the weapon, but you know, you're at that spot where you can't have a very efficient turn. So it's kind of like, what do you want to set up your next turn? And you can do the bow if you want to hit for a total of 6, or you can do the Animal Companion if you're hoping that your opponent's going to play a bunch of cards, and you can do the Buzzard Unleash on the next turn.
Are there any numbers from your experience that you feel like is critical for Hunter? You know, obviously for Mage would be like 10 or 11 by like turn 8, 9. Is there that number for Hunter that you feel like is just, you have to start panicking?
Yeah, the problem with Hunter is, you know, your finishers are not like, it's not like I have Pyroblast in hand, they're at 10 life, you know, have fun. It's, you have creatures, you have to get through. So there's a little bit more strategy to it. But, you know, at the same time, you got that hero ability, which if you do run out of the cards that end up, you know, ending you the game, you can kind of rely on that one at the very least.
And that's usually why a lot of Hunters try to play their charged minions over using their hero power, because they can always use that to steady shot their opponent, but you can't always get the charges through.
He does go with the weapon. I think either play was fair. I think maybe the Animal Companion was a little bit better if you could anticipate that the Warlock would fill his board, but maybe he thinks it'll be another turn or so before that happens.
So turn number 5 for StrifeCro, he draws the Twilight Drake, and now he can play pretty much his entire hand other than Siphon Soul, but that's not applicable. This is also where it starts getting kind of crazy to tap as well. His hand is pretty nice overall. Do you have any recommendations?
I mean, he can tap only if he plans on playing the Molten Giant, because even though you're spending 2 mana on the tap, you're losing 2 life, which reduces its cost by 2. So right now, he can decide on whether he wants to play the Drake or he wants the Molten Giant, and if he wants the Molten Giant, he has to decide whether he wants to tap. He does go with the Drake though, which again, is actually, now that I think about it, it's probably the best choice because he can bait out that silence even before it has taunt.
Oh, that's right. Make it very weak and finish it off, so.
Yeah, but that's kind of what he wants. He wants his opponent to waste the silences so he can give his Molten Giant taunt, and if you do that, you know, you may buy yourself quite a few extra turns.
Now, in terms of just, well, he is thinking about Starving Buzzard, but we also have some secrets that are loaded up to give the Eagle Horn some possibility of extended durability, but we don't have any of those draws just yet. Starving Buzzard can draw some cards as well if you drop the Animal Companion or, Unleash the Hounds. All right.
Yep. Looks like he just wants to push for a little bit more damage, get a few more cards out of it. I think it's a pretty good play. He could wait for his opponent to get another 1 or 2 beasts, but 1 or 2 extra creatures, so he can get a few more beasts out of it. But overall, I think this is just fine.
So he can do 7 damage this turn, bring down to 7. He has a Leper Gnome and his hero ability, so he has 4. and the Abusive Sergeant to kind of add things up. So it's still it's going to get very dangerous. But also, if StrifeCro has those Molten Giants, that's also going to pose a problem because you put him within a range where he can play it for free.
Right. I think the card that StrifeCro is really going to want to draw is the Sun Fury Protector, which I do believe he has 2 of those. Yeah. So the reason he's going to be at 6 mana, the Molten Giant's going to cost 0 by the end of this turn, almost for sure. And if he can drop 4 taunts on the field, I think he'll be pretty safe for. You know, at the very least, until he gets pinged down by the hero ability, which we'll see how long that'll take.
Gnimsh is calculating. At this point, what does he really worry about? Just bring him too low?
Well, it's pretty weird that he made the play and doesn't know what to attack right now. I feel that if you make this play, you really can't afford to take out the Drake here. Yeah, I think you just gotta go for it. I mean, he played the cards. This is why he played the cards.
Getting cold feet.
Yeah, he's having some second thoughts, it seems, but I think in the end the right decision was made.
Ooh, now we do have an Earthen. I always get this name wrong. Earthen Ring Farseer. Did I say it right?
Eventually, yeah.
I cast for a living.
The 3-life is going to be pretty useful. If StrifeCro anticipates a kill command, he's going to feel the need to use it, and I think that anticipation is fairly well merited.
Yeah,
I mean,
drew 4 cards last turn.
Yeah,
high chances of having it.
Yeah, we know that. I think there's only 1 kill command in the deck, so the chances are actually not that high. But even still, you have to be
that's still
really
7
posing
damage.
this question. Yeah. Well, you have 7 life, so 7 damage is quite a bit.
So if he can play the Molten Giant and he feels like the Farseer is necessary, that still leaves him at an awkward mana case where he doesn't have the ability to create some taunts. So he might have to gamble.
Yeah, I think he is forced to gamble here with just Defender and hoping for the best.
Oh man, very tough for StrifeCro. Oh man, it's just so awkward. He has a lot of options, but not really able to play them all. And he's going to give his taunt to, I guess, the Molten Giant and the Ancient Watcher.
He wants to spread the silence targets. So, you know, if you silence the Drake, it's still protected. It's still a 4 damage unit.
Okay. Kind of an awkward moment.
It worked.
There.
It worked.
Well, there it goes. And he also has Soulfire at his disposal to use it on one of the creatures and aiming at the Buzzard. Oh, wow. Losing the Farseer can sting as well.
I think the best card to lose there was the Tinkmaster. Just because
those creatures are pretty weak anyways.
I mean, if you give him a 5/5, it's probably bigger than anything in this deck.
It is. Other than the Leroy Jenkins. And the dinosaur is not a beast, right?
Actually, it is.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Both the dinosaur and the squirrel are
that's
beasts.
right.
They're
So
quite
it'd be
beastly.
helping him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So we do have the turn 6 draw for Gnimsh. He has to do 7 damage, but he has 2 big taunts, and don't be fooled by the 30 health. The Warlock Giants deck can easily swing in 30 damage in 1 or 2 turns.
Yeah, this guy can make him over.
Oh, wow. All right, well, there it is. Gnimsh got what he needed. That's a classic Gnimsh draw, the kill command and the steady shot.
Yep.
And just like that, the winning streak of StrifeCro has been snapped. Gnimsh takes game number 1.
Yep, that is the one card he needed. Tracking, proves its worth in that game. You essentially get the option to draw 3 cards because you only need a particular one to end the game.
And this is a very unusual situation. StrifeCro lost.
Well, I did kind of expect him to lose. It just so happened that, it was in typical Gnimsh fashion where you need a card and then you get that card.
Yeah, and that's the power of tracking, because it was in the middle, so he would have needed 2 turns to get kill command. I think the next one was just a general card he didn't need.
Yep, pretty good play. Gnimsh hesitated a lot with his plays, but I feel overall he made pretty good ones, especially when they counted. In some of the earlier turns there were options, but when he needed to push for damage, that's what he did, and I think it turned out pretty well for him. Well, clearly it did because he won.
Yeah, he won with full health. But again, StrifeCro, I think he played his position as best as he could. Do you feel like that, or did you think he made any mistakes?
I mean, I don't feel that he made any mistakes, but you kind of gotta trust Strife. He really practices his decks, and I just think being such a huge underdog, you really have to get a bit lucky, and that clearly didn't happen.
I don't think you could have done any better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agreed with all your plays.
Yeah.
The defender.
That's scary, but yeah.
I was actually thinking about keeping 2 of the owls, like in that starting hand, but I was like, yeah, I think 1 was good because but now I think I should keep 2, yeah, for the flooding berserkers and stuff, like because I can't afford to start trading. It's like not efficient.
Welcome back to Fight Night. The countdown has finished. We're getting ready to go between game number 2, StrifeCro and Nimsh, Hunter versus Warrior.
Yep. Picking the counter again. So the tables are flipped now. We got StrifeCro as the probably the easy win. I mean, you never know with Hearthstone, but more than likely a Warrior that's going to run cards like Armorsmith and Cruel Taskmaster is going to have a pretty easy time dealing with all the 1 health chargers that is going to run into him.
All right, so since it's so hard for Hunter to face against this kind of Warrior, what kind of cards is Nimsh looking for?
I don't know if it's really a Nimsh that's looking for cards as much as he's hoping StrifeCro doesn't get the cards that own his deck. I mean, Nimsh's Hunter deck, as most Hunter deck these days, they're pretty homogenous. You get the charged creatures, and they don't have much health. And, they all share the same weaknesses.
You're telling me over the break, Cruel Taskmaster is just insanely good, just because that 1 damage can 2 for 1.
Right,
A lot of stuff that Hunter has.
Well, this hand for Nimsh isn't too bad. He may even keep all of it. I don't know if he needs the silence, but it may help against a card like Frothing that we saw in his hand before it gets too out of control. The Animal Companion is a good card because none of the 3 options end up having 1 health. And Eaglehorn Bow allows you to play a control game, but I don't think that's the kind of game we're going to see out of this Hunter deck.
Certainly not. And Nimsh, well, he dismisses Unleash the Hounds for now, or does he?
Well, that's one of those really powerful cards. If your opponent has a pretty big board lead, allows you to come back. He's probably expecting that his opponent won't have that big of a board lead right away.
And he does have a 1-drop as well.
Well, that 1-drop is quickly going to enter the graveyard.
Because of the Cruel Taskmaster.
Yep.
And I guess as long as he gets the damage in, it's okay. But usually you try to expect 4 damage from the Leopard Nova.
Yeah, I mean, largely the differences between matching up... oh, there it is.
There it is, the Armorsmith.
Yep, he's got 2 of the OP cards already in his hand. It's going to be pretty rough. Even the Fiery War Axe is going to do some work.
So, I guess StrifeCro decides between it. Do you drop the Armorsmith, the Cruel Taskmaster?
I'm not sure. With the Cruel Task, you eliminate the threat right away. With the Armorsmith, you get armor.
And sometimes you see Hunters run Deadly Shot, but it's pretty rare nowadays. Are you ever afraid of that anymore?
Well, we know he doesn't have it in, and the reason being is you're essentially letting your opponent build the board so you can unleash it. And Deadly Shotting, when you're letting them build the board, is going to have huge inconsistency.
Well, we do have the Ironbeak Owl silencing the Armorsmith, just like you said, so nice for Nimsh, but that Armorsmith will still be able to take out some of these cards.
Yeah, it's actually pretty horrible right now because he did already drop the silence. He's still going to kill 2 cards with 1, and we're going to see a Frothing here. This card's going to get out of control really fast if Nimsh doesn't stop him. He has the tools to stop him. He's got the bow. He can attack the Frothing with the bow and the creature, but he's losing so much tempo in the game that it may just not work out for him.
I think I would have taken out the Ironbeak Owl myself, just because he could have a kill command or something and do 5 damage to the Frothing. But he chose to take out the Leopard Gnome. What do you think was that response to?
Well, there's a lot of beasts in the deck. I think as the Warrior, you're pretty worry-free. I mean, you just put cards that are really annoying, and StrifeCro has done a pretty good job about doing that.
I agree. So turn 3 here, 2 Eaglehorns and an Animal Companion at his disposal. I think the Animal Companion is a pretty solid choice overall, because you might get an answer to the Frothing with the boar. You can just whiff and maybe get it.
Did get the boar. That's pretty good. That's pretty good indeed. But Oh man, like it's still not great.
It's not great, but
like there goes the bar.
Right, but at the same time, it's at least you had an answer to the frothing, because otherwise he couldn't do anything. Now we have the cool Taskmaster. You can wipe the board and give Strifecrow good control.
Goodbye, Owl. And now we're gonna take back that damage that we took with the armor up, most likely. He can use the weapon here, but I don't think he needs to.
And he does have some of his good mid-game cards already in his hand. Chillwind Yeti, a card that when Hearthstone first started off, people thought was very regular, but has since grown in the eyes of a lot of players in Arena mostly, but now it's wandering over to Constructed. Give me some of your thoughts on Chillwind Yeti.
Well, he goes with the Axe. That's pretty interesting. He doesn't really care about his life. Chillwind's one of those cards where, you start the game, you look at it, and like, well, this card does nothing. How good could it be? But as it turns out, stats are extremely important in the game. And it does pose such a big threat on turn 4, especially against decks that can't handle it, like Priests. The 4 attack really crushes them, and the 5 health makes it so they survive at least 1 attack from one of their creatures.
Oh, interesting. To the face with the Eagle Horn.
Yep.
And try to just put in as much damage as possible. And always let your opponent build up the board in case of a threat of Unleash the Hound.
Exactly. So he's allowing his opponent to get these like 1 attack, 2 attack creatures. He's not going to take that much damage. He's trying to gain the life lead so that when he draws Unleash, which hopefully for him will be pretty soon because he's going to need it.
No way, Nimsh. It's within the next 2 cards or so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, those are not big threats. The 4/4 is somewhat of a big threat. He may choose to do something against that, but I still doubt it just because it's a bit too costly with his current hand.
And so Strifecrow returns the favor. Now it's a race for life. And interesting, a misdirection that can give him longevity on his Eagle Horn bow. On his second one, that is, if you want to use this one right now.
That's not too bad. He might, in fact, play it just to clean up the board a little bit because he doesn't have the Unleash, but he's probably going to save Leroy for when he actually gets Unleash, give him Whelps, get those extra beasts, push for that extra damage. So I believe right now his goal is just to, get his opponent as low as possible.
And be very mana efficient, so Leroy is definitely out of the question in this regard. Does have a few charge minions he might want to get out of the way too.
Yeah, he's thinking of using Arcane Golem. His other plays like the weapon and Misdirect get an extra durability, but at the same time, the game may not last another 3 turns. So doing the most damage possible is going to be the Arcane Golem and a Steady Shot. You can do another 6, get him to 10, and the possibilities next turn, given some draws, are going to be pretty nice. But
why not the Bluegill Warrior instead of the Steady Shot? Or do you feel like that's just a waste of the Bluegill?
Yeah, I mean, you're at 23 life. If you play a Bluegill, it's probably dead to the 4/4. I feel you can take the damage. I feel you can save Bluegill and possibly push for more on another turn, just as a surprise.
So the Arcane Golem does come out for damage.
Yep.
And the Steady Shot bringing Strifecrow down to 10. Now with Eagle Horn, with Leroy and the Steady Shot next turn, he can be able to do 8. So this is still should be okay for Strifecrow for at least past this turn, but still very tricky scenario because you don't know what Nimsh is capable of with 4 cards in his hand.
Yeah, certainly with Leroy. This is actually anyone's game right now.
Yeah.
It really depends on Nimsh drawing the Unleash, the combo with the Leroy. Right now, it's not going to be quite enough, but if he gets like a Timberwolf as well, it certainly will be in a few turns. And I think with 23 life, he is able to survive an extra few turns.
Do you feel like Strifecrow in this scenario also doesn't want to keep some of his minions on the board, like he would trade as his cool Taskmaster?
I think the best way to drop that 4/2 creature is goes the Shield Slam. Well, he's got 2 of them. That's pretty good.
So if his opponent, if he has Unleashed, is more than capable of doing 12 damage. So Strifecrow is going to just leave it up to chance to see what he's got.
Yep, Unleash will end the game, certainly. Because he gets 4 little 1/1 chargers from the current board, plus the 2 from the ones created by Leroy's Whelps.
I got a feeling, Crip.
Yep, and that fills the board. That's 7 chargers.
I got a feeling Ninja might have something for this.
I believe he drew the Animal Companion.
Yes. So the most damage he can do is 8. as far as I see, unless I'm missing something. Misdirection is always a really funny card.
Yeah, right now he really, I think, needs to play the misdirection just in case the opponent has some extra damage. He needs to not die next turn. I think Gnimsh knows what he's up against pretty well, and I think he knows that most of the extra damage is going to come in the form of another weapon. So, if you can mitigate just a few points of extra damage, that's probably going to put him out of range. Right now, the board hits him for 11. He's at 13. So, misdirect might do it.
Misdirect, and then follow it with what? Like an animal companion, get a taunt up, maybe get Misha. Too risky, 50% chance of getting what you need.
You could also push with the weapon a little bit, I feel. But I think the chance at the taunt might be pretty good as well.
Very tricky situation for Gnimsh. Yeah, I think
the problem is if you don't push for
companion.
damage here, you lose lethal next turn. That's the problem, because if you draw Unleash, he's going to be at 14. You can only do 12 with Leroy Unleash. So, like whatever you do, you have to do a little bit of extra damage this turn. So, even like bluegilling the 1/2 pinging and putting up misdirection might be a pretty good play.
Yeah, I guess to at least get the armor smith to not trigger misdirection.
Yeah, right now you're just hoping for that draw, and you got to draw as many cards as you can while keeping your opponent on the verge of death.
Nope. Instead, it's going to be the animal companion. Oh, he gets the boar. He still can drop misdirection as well.
Well, the boar can get him to 8. With the bow, you can get him to 5. Not quite there, and it's a pretty big risk to allow the opponent to attack into you with that much life.
So with the boar, then, what do? You got to do the damage, but you can also
since you
trade.
got the boar, and since you can get your opponent to 5, next turn you can do 7 damage with the weapon, the bluegill, and the ping, or you can even throw Leroy in there, get some extra if he somehow puts up a taunt. So you can push for damage if you're feeling risky. So right now, I think Gnimsh is considering whether he needs to push for damage or does need to hold on for that Unleashed draw.
All right, so instead it's going to go for the trade on the Azure Drake.
Kind of a mix between the two.
Just taking a cautious approach, but it does remove the ability for lethal if there is anything coming in. And now we have a Karn draw, recently becoming one of my favorite cards.
Oh, certainly.
Insane value.
2 Chillwind Yetis for the price of 1.5. If you buy stuff, it's a
buy
pretty
one,
good deal.
get 50% off.
Exactly.
Now we see Strifecrow doesn't really have too many options at his disposal. He can pretty much just armor up in Karn, unless he wants to try drawing by slamming his own minion, but that's just silly.
It's not that bad of a play.
Is it?
If you kill your opponent next turn anyway, but with some removal, even with like Explosive Trap, that may not happen. So I do agree that Karn is a pretty easy play. I don't know what else could he have in mind.
Let's see, so he has 7.
He's thinking about something. What is he thinking about here?
Because he doesn't have any way to do a lot of immediate turn damage other than some of his late game, and if he plays a slam, he won't be able to get it.
I think this is possibly what he's thinking. He's thinking like, what could I really draw to affect the game if I slam my own creature?
Yeah,
looks like he has some idea. That could not have been it.
Well, that certainly was not what Strifecrow was looking for. That's just like a late game representation of mulliganing. Sometimes you get the same card you mulligan just because Hearthstone is Hearthstone.
Well, looks like he's just going for it, and we do know that lethal is happening. I believe you got 3. Oh, it's certainly happening
my God! Yet again. Do you believe?
I think he may have had it anyway. He has 9 plus the 2. Yeah, he had lethal anyway, but it's much more amusing this way, I suppose.
Yeah, you're actually correct. But now he's going to take him down with the doggies. Yep. And Gnimsh jumps up to a 2-0
with the BM
lead.
finish.
Yeah.
I do love it. I do love the BM finish.
Style and flair.
Yep. Well, if you're gonna win, if you're finally gonna beat the monster that is StrifeCro, you might as well do it in BM style and
relish every moment you can.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, dude, we were saying that Warriors favored against Hunter in this scenario, but now StrifeCro is down to his last deck.
Mm-hmm. It really, thinking back about the match, it really didn't seem that it was that bad of a matchup for the Hunter. Maybe I'm not too familiar with the deck, but I was quite surprised how easy it really was. In the last few turns, there were some really tough calls, and it seems that the way he played it really worked out.
One thing, Crip, that you were telling me before the fight night even began was you were saying that from your talks with Liquid Value, they weren't really expecting much aggro, and now it's gotten to 2 aggro wins.
Well,
do you have any follow-up comments about that?
The Hunter deck has been pretty popular lately on the ladder. I don't think they're too surprised to see that. I think largely that's why they're actually playing Warrior. All in all, with the changes that we saw to the nerfs, a lot of the cards that were really strong in aggro, those really fell out of favor, and as a result, you can expect to see a lot of slower decks. But there's always going to be the curveball, and this is a pretty popular one recently.
Curveball and a swing and a miss for StrifeCro, but he gets 3 strikes. We'll find out what happens in game number 3 right after this commercial break. Hey guys, welcome back to the desk. The timer has finished. Game number 3 is do or die for StrifeCro.
Well, we've seen StrifeCro play some really good games in the past, so we can't be too surprised if he does bring it back. But this Hunter deck does seem to be pretty dominant right now, so I don't know, man. You're looking at a slow Druid deck right now, played by StrifeCro, the Druid Master, but looking at the deck list, there's not a lot of taunts there, and those Chargers, they really like to smash your face in. So I don't know. I have to give the favor to Gnimsh again in this one.
But it seems like despite the favorable conditions, doesn't necessarily mean that's how things are going to pan out.
Absolutely.
You never know. Druid could double innervate and get something out insane early game. And we'll find out what happens in game number 3.
Rexxar versus Malfurion. I must protect the wild. Let the hunt begin.
All right, so the cards have been drawn. A Nat Pagal, a card that's exploded in popularity recently.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're going to see Nat Pagal everywhere. You saw that he's kind of hesitating a little bit with the Druid of the Claw and Ancient of Lore. He knows he's going to have to come back in the game. He knows he's going to lose the early game just because the Hunter runs so many 1-drops, so many 2-drops, so much charge aggression.
He needs some answers early on.
Well, it's not about early on. I mean, you just don't really have answers early on. He needs those cards a little bit later in the game to really, push like a taunt, push with some extra healing, just to, give him another turn, give him another 2 turns, that kind of deal.
Okay. Fair enough. We do have the Leper Gnome drop, pretty straightforward. In fact, the first 3 turns from Gnimsh are pretty easy to decide.
Yeah, when you see a Leper Gnome dropped against you as a Druid, it really sucks because, I went second, I still have the coin, I can't kill it for free yet, but in Strife's position, if he uses the coin, he misses his 2-drop, and he has a pretty nice 2-drop because he's sitting on 2 Harvest Golems, which are actually going to do a lot of work against Chargers.
You can coin Harvest Golem turn 2 and just Harvest Golem turn 3.
Certainly.
You have 4 lives on the board.
Yeah, so I would not be surprised to see StrifeCro just pass the turn here. I mean, there's a few 2-drops that he can draw into, but that's a little bit optimistic. He's playing a pretty control-heavy type of deck, and it does look like he passed the turn there.
So a tough decision for StrifeCro, but now we have the Bluegill Warrior coming out and putting on more damage.
Pretty good opener, I'd imagine, from a Hunter deck. I mean, anytime you go first, you get a 1-drop, your opponent does nothing. You got to be feeling a little bit good. I feel like these Harvest Golems are going to clean up, but it's a race. They may just not clean up quite fast enough.
You need to get bigger brooms to sweep off all these Chargers.
They just keep coming, man.
Yeah. Actually, it kind of looks like one of those old rakes on the back of a Harvest Golem, so.
Got the Amicable Plant with 2 creatures. Leok is good. Get the board. Get some more dips.
This is so brutal to watch.
Yeah.
StrifeCro doesn't seem like he's getting anything he needs. Ooh, although an Innervate would have been really nice.
That's a pretty good card. I think here you just play the next Harvest Golem. Next turn, if you really need to sweep up the board, you can force his nature.
Yeah. So Strifeco still gonna take a lot of damage because next turn, even if he cleans, will have to deal with 6 damage. You always kind of keep that +2 with the leper, no?
Right.
It puts him at 12 health already after turn 3, or turn 4 rather.
I mean, that's not even including the next turn, which may include more chargers, probably include the hunter ability.
Yeah. He also has kill command that he drew on turn 2, I believe.
I was going to innovate now just to get rid of one more creature off the board.
Okay.
Certainly a pretty decent play, but it does commit you to playing the Chillwind next turn. So he must feel pretty confident about doing that.
Same time, we also have a nice pair of Ironbeak Owls to silence things like the Harvest Golem, so that way he doesn't have to deal with too many of those. And I think that's definitely the best thing because he doesn't really have many other options.
Yep, sound something, ping him. I mean, you just wither away
Still
that
doing
life pool.
damage.
The Druid can only heal for 1 a turn, and Harvest Golems are good. They're gonna kill off your creatures, but you're down 17 life right now.
Very nice position for Gnimsh to be in.
Certainly. Oh, another Chillwind. It's
Wow.
pretty good.
All right.
Basically got 4 Chillwinds in hand.
4 Chillwinds and a pseudo Unleash the Hounds.
Yep.
So now we have a board clear, and this is what you want, but not with this little health at turn 4 or turn 5.
Right. I mean, if we see like a Leroy draw or an Unleash draw, there's going to be some big trouble. And, with tracking involved, with Gnimsh involved, we're looking at some pretty good odds of that happening.
Well, we do have kill command, so that's kind of 7 because of you can always Timberwolf and kill command easily for a big whopping 5. So
I feel like
just needs to draw a couple of good finishers.
I feel like just ping might be the right play here.
Ping and pass?
Yeah. I mean, the creatures that you're going to play, they're just going to die, and all the creatures in your hand are really good for combo. So, I mean, you're 1 or 2 cards away from winning the game here.
And then what does that say about Gnimsh's hand if you do that? Or actually, he doesn't look like he's doing that.
Well, I think it does look like he's doing that. He wants to draw into that card right now, is what he's doing. He's hoping he draws Unleash.
Well, he gets tracking instead.
Tracking's not quite good enough. He's going to do the ping here. Yep.
All right, well then, never mind about what we were saying. As Strifecro does get turn 5, would Druid of the Claw even help in this position?
Oh, absolutely.
And
play the Charger.
It would.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't exactly because we know that the Owl is in his hand, but Strifecro would definitely see it that way.
So I feel like the final seconds are ticking down because with tracking you get 4 options basically next turn because you draw and you get 3. You can get what you need.
Exactly. There's going to be a lot of cards that you can draw into here.
Rough stuff for Strifecro, but that's all he can do.
That was a little bit of a misplay. He could have taken one less damage on the Chillwind Yeti because the Harvest Golem was going to die anyway.
I see. Well, so we draw the Eaglehorn Bow, and he's looking for
Leroy.
the Leroy. But even if he draws Leroy, he can't finish it off exactly just yet. So he's thinking about
the Bluegill, which is pretty strange to me. I think it might be to complete the turn with kill command if his opponent has a taunt. But I don't know. I mean, you still have the Owl. I feel like Leroy is a pretty easy choice.
Yeah. Okay. And from here,
he just bow ping.
Bow ping, or and if you get him down to 4 health, and then
I guess you could Leroy because you can get him to 3, and next turn you could Owl, kill command, and ping for 7.
Basically anything you can do in this scenario is really good.
I mean, I don't know what could draw over here. I think the game is over. I mean, you could draw with the Azure Drake. You have 1 mana left.
The Claw. It's basically Strifecro has to do 30 damage in this turn. Which
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good at math. I don't see any options of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This game is definitely over.
10. I was thinking even if he drew something like a Savage Roar, would he have been able to do anything? But Strifecro.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah,
but no, you don't have quite the mana to do that. Turn 6 loss as a Druid. That is pretty phenomenal. Really.
Yeah, you don't see that very often. Druid has a lot of answers: Claw, Wrath, all these swipe. But you don't really see that. And Strifeco's going to try to heal up as much as he can. He'll go up to 6.
Yep, certainly the best play that he could make, but we know it's just not enough at this state.
Wow, a 3-0 for Gnimsh is going to be coming in. That's not what I expected.
Turn the table this time.
Yeah.
You got to give it to him.
This is good.
Pulled it off.
Overall record, though, is still 3-6 against Strifecro, but
I mean, if you're gonna come back, you got to start somewhere. This is a pretty good way to bring it back. Yeah.
Gnimsh, doesn't matter what he draws, he's throwing out the well played. He knows he's got Ironbeak Owl.
Yep.
Silence the Pirate. No other target.
Anything.
Yeah. And shoot. 4-3.
Over.
Well, that's a 2-pointer, actually. GG's.
Well, it's enough to win.
Yeah. A basket's a basket.
Pretty fun game. It's pretty cool to see a series that a lot of people expected to see as a control off, end up this way where the first aggro deck played just sweeps it up easy.
Yeah. And the decks that we thought would have been good against it didn't quite hold up a candle.
Yeah, I mean it's Hearthstone. If it's good, it's not 100%.
All right. Man. Great support for Gnimsh. Man, Strifecro. That's the first time he's lost at Fight Night. I'm just so flat. Like, I didn't even know that was possible, man.
Well, I mean, it's
to lose 3 games in a row.
It's Liquid Valley. You gotta start off on a loss. That's just the tradition.
That's true.
Yep.
But they can come back. We'll find out what has to happen right after this break. We'll have a winner's interview with Gnimsh to see what he thought about his match.
Strifecro, you did it. You managed to lose. You defied the odds.
Well, everyone's got to lose someday.
Well, did you expect to lose to a Hunter?
I was actually a little bit worried about Hunter. I mean, Hunter's like new this patch with the Unleash the Hounds, and I have been playing against Hunter in ladder, and a lot of my losses in ladder have been to Hunter. So.
Well, clearly, after you had the first loss, which I mean, when you pick the first deck, it's just whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you pick the counter, when you picked your warrior, how did you feel in that game? Did you feel you were ahead?
I thought that the warrior would have probably a decent shot at beating Hunter, maybe like the best out of my decks. Like I have a couple of cards that are really good against Hunter, like Cruel Taskmaster and Armorsmith.
Yeah, you opened up with those. I thought you'd be pretty well off.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I saw his deck was mostly using stuff like 2-1s and 3-1s, so the Cruel Taskmaster basically kills any creature, and the Armorsmith like kills creatures and gets armor. But he had good kind of reactionary cards that, like, for example, the Owl silenced it, and I think he managed to kill the Frothing Berserker with the Huffer as well. So, like, that was kind of like one of the plans I had, where since he's kind of ignoring most of my creatures and kind of just racing, I thought my Frothing could get really big and just kind of outrace him, but got Huffered. So.
Yeah, it didn't happen. Yeah. Hopefully you guys are a little bit more prepared, because this Hunter thing, may keep rolling. It seems pretty crazy. Yeah. Well, you put up a good fight. Got to lose sometime, but man, those Hunters.
Yeah, those Hunters.
Good luck to your team for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, thanks.
So we got the winner here. We got Gnimsh, and I gotta ask you, man. I mean, you 3-0'd, you defeated Strife. It has to feel good. But
oh yeah, it does.
What's the best way to finish someone? Because I saw some of those BM finishes. What's the best creature to just run into the face? Is it Leroy? Do you like the Bluegill? What's the ideal situation for you?
For me, I think the ideal situation is like not a BM one, but I like to finish them with a weapon, because you have so many things. But being a team member and a Team Doggy House, like unleash the doggy. And that's probably the best finish you can have in this deck.
Well, it must feel pretty good. I mean, I really didn't expect you to beat the Warrior deck. I think you played really well. There's definitely a lot of different choices that you could have made. How did you come to, especially in the turn when you played the Animal Companion, got the board and ran into the creature? What was going through your mind during that turn? I thought that was a pretty pivotal part of the game.
Yeah, it was very important. I got pretty lucky there. I was thinking that I have to I was counting the damage if I'm able to kill him, and I was counting the damage if he is able to kill me. And I realized that at that point, he's probably able to kill me with like inner rage and stuff. I didn't know his exact list, but I was expecting what he gonna have in his deck. So I knew that I have to risk. Like there was no good play. That was the best play I could get, and that was an RNG play, unfortunately. But fortunately, it ended up in a good way. So I would be like, the boar was the best way to deal with the situation. Bear was okay, and Leok would be suicide. So I was like, no Leok.
Okay, well, I mean, it turned out in your favor. Obviously, you won. Maybe you can bring it up again in the in the final round.
Well, I'd love to meet StrifeCro in the final round and beat him. So like we are 6-6, because right now I'm still like trying to chase.
Yeah, we were talking about you got to start somewhere, though, man. I mean.
Yeah, it's a good start, I think.
Yeah,
Right?
Good point to bring it back around.
Totally.
Yeah, congratulations again.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Crip. Artosis, congratulations on your team's first win. You guys have won $250 so far. How do you feel about Nimch's play so far?
I'm really happy with it. We thought and joked with him that he was going to lose 0-3 again to StrifeCro, as it normally happens, but to take him out so quickly and only showing one deck, really happy with the result.
Good momentum from Team Doggy House. Remember that if you keep going on the sweep, a clean sweep bonus, you get 5,000 extra.
He always does this to us, man.
Yeah,
There's
sets
no
you guys
way.
up for the alley-oop.
You watch. I'll play next and lose my first game just to erase any hope of that.
We'll find out after that, but before we end this episode, let's find out the first player from Liquid Value who's going to show up tomorrow night. Take her first spin. Please not player 8. No, it's Trump. So there you have it. Trump will be the second player from Liquid Value. Tune in tomorrow night to find out who among Artosis, Ekop, and Savages is going to face off against him. See you tomorrow night.
You ready, ladies and gentlemen? Here I come.